Okay, so welcome. Today we'll talk about how to manage your reputation. Please, if possible, turn off your microphone and open it only if you wanted to contribute something. Thanks. So my name is Hayim Makabee. I'm originally from Brazil. I was born in Rio de Janeiro, and I made Aliyah more than 30 years ago. I live near Haifa. I did my master's degree at the Technion. I finished my studies in 1995 in the field of computer science. Since then, I have been working in the Israeli high-tech industry with more than 25 years of experience. I worked mostly for startup companies. I participated in 3 exits, and I had this privilege of participating in as an employee in 3 exits. Today, I am the CTO of an early stage startup company called Dooiu, but I'm also involved as a consultant in some other startup companies. In particular, in the last 12 years, I have been working a lot in the field of machine learning and artificial intelligence. Okay, so let's start. So you all know the importance of networking, right? In general, people say that networking is extremely important, but in my opinion, networking is overrated. And especially today, it's very easy to meet people. You go to meetups and you go to conferences, and even on the social networks, on LinkedIn and other social networks, it's very easy to make new connections, very easy. But it's much more difficult to really keep in touch with all these people. And what happens in most of the case is that after you make the initial connection, you simply forget about each other. And you make an effort to create all these connections. You make an effort to know people, but most of the case, most of the people you will forget. And actually, this happens not only on people that we meet once, but this also happens with people that we have worked with. And if you think about people that you have worked with in the past, many of them you are not in contact anymore, and you don't know what they are doing, and sometimes you have no idea where they are working. Some person worked with you, some previous company, and now you have no idea where this person is working. And sometimes you even forget their names. It's very sad, but this happens frequently, that there is a person that you have worked with for a long time, and then after a few years that you are working in a different company, you don't even remember the name of this person. And this is an exercise I suggest of the business cards collection. Okay? But this could also be about your connections on LinkedIn. So if you see a person on LinkedIn that you are connected to, did you meet this person? If you met this person, where did you meet this person? If you saw this person in the street, would you recognize him or her? So is this person a real connection? Or is this person really someone that can bring you value? Or is just a random person in your network? And so what is the real value of your network? And what I want to claim in this talk is that what is really important is for you to have a good reputation. And the meaning of having a good reputation is that people, first of all, will remember you. And you want people to remember you. You want people to know who you are. So that if there is a situation in which they can make any recommendation for you, and they will keep you in mind. And so you want to generate opportunities, and this should be the goal of networking. In general, when we talk about networking, we are hoping to have more opportunities, to increase the number of opportunities we have. But this will only happen if these people we are meeting and making these connections, if they remember you, and if they can really recommend you because they know who you are. In order to recommend you, they must understand what are your skills, what is your experience, and what kind of work you can do. And then if these people remember us and they can understand who we are, and they can really offer us opportunities all the time. So what I say basically is that having a good reputation is like being at the right place and at the right time, because you don't need to be physically present. And of course, you have this idea that if you go to Meetup or to a conference, you can meet people that can open you new opportunities. But if you are not in the Meetup and you have a friend and your friend thinks about you and remembers you, and he hears about some opportunity that's good for you, that's appropriate for you, so your friend can recommend you. So you don't need to be physically present. What's important is that you are present on the mind of your connections. So what's the difference between networking and reputation? In the case of networking, you want to meet people that may help you. We want to meet new friends, new contacts, new connections with the intention that these people may help you. In the case of reputation, the goal is to create value for people. And this is not only for your friends and not only for your connections. You may create value even for people that you never met. And this is actually what I'm doing now, right? Some of you are people who I know personally. So some of you are my friends and some of you are my connections, but some of you are people I never met. And I hope that in my presentation now, I'm creating value for you. And this is one of my goals in this talk, is to create value for you. And I believe, please open the microphone only if you have something to ask or any comment. Okay, thank you. So my hope and my goal in this presentation is that I will create value for you. And by creating value to you, I will be improving my own reputation. So how do you create value? This sounds very abstract, create value. So in this talk, I will talk about 3 different ways we can create value. First one is to be a connector. The second one is to curate content. And the third one is to create content. And I will explain and give examples of each one of these different ways to create value. First of all, to be a connector. Okay, what's the meaning of being a connector? A connector is a person who knows lots of people, and he's always trying to introduce people to each other when there is an opportunity. Okay? So this idea of the connector is discussed in this book called The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. He explains how powerful is this kind of people that are the connectors. They know different kinds of people. They know people in different segments of the population with different professions, and they are all the time matching people. They are all the time making introductions and creating these opportunities. And so if you are a connector, you can create value for your friends by introducing them to each other when there is for them some opportunity to work together or to benefit from knowing each other. One example of connector is a headhunter. And this is a professional connector. And the headhunters, they match people to to jobs. And I want to tell a story about this person here. This guy is called Emil Rosenblatt. He is one of the most famous headhunters in Israel. And I have been in contact with him for many years. In the beginning of my relationship with Emil, I was mostly sending him CVs of friends. And what I would do every time I had a friend who was a really qualified person, and this person was looking for a job, I would send his CV to Emil and say, look, Emil, this is a friend of mine. He's a very top professional, and he's looking for a job. So during years, I was all the time sending these leads, now these professionals to Emil without asking anything from him. I didn't ask him to help me. And then after a few years of relationship, Emil approached me. And then he said, look, Hayim, I have the perfect position for you. And then he offered me a job. I didn't ask for a job. I was not even looking for a job, but he made me this job offer, which he said it was perfect for me. And then in the end, I was hired by this company. And actually, in the last 5 years, 2 of the companies I worked for, it was through Emil. And so he gave me a very important contribution to my personal and professional career. So this is one nice example of how over time you build a relationship with someone, you create value for this person, and then after some time, there is some reciprocity. And what I want to tell you is that in practice, you are already a connector. You are already playing this role of a connector. Every time you introduce between 2 friends, you are being a connector. Every time you have a friend who is looking for a job and your friend asks you to send his CV to another friend for some open position, you are being a connector. So we are doing this all the time. And the idea is to try to look for more opportunities like this in which you can generate value. Like this. And here's one example of a person that made a post on LinkedIn telling that he's looking for a job. He says, help me get my new job. So this person is communicating openly and explicitly to his network that he's looking for a job. And so now the people in his network will know that they can help him, and some of them will actually try to help him. And so he's approaching his connections as each one of his connections is potentially someone that can help him find a job. So I understand that this is not something that everyone will do, to be so explicit about his need to find a job. I don't think that everybody would feel so comfortable publishing such a post on LinkedIn, but this is an example of what you can do on the other side. Every time you see some of your friends, some of your connections on LinkedIn posting something like this, do you stop and think, perhaps I can help this person? How can I help this person? So this is to think how to build your reputation as someone who is creating value for the others. So we talked about being a connector. Now I want to talk about being a content curator. What is this concept of curating content? The idea here is to select useful information from the internet or from other sources and organize this information in a way that you are adding value. And when you get all this information and you structure it in a different way, you organize it in a different way, you are adding value to this collection you did. and then you share it with your network. You share this curation with your contacts. And one example is there's a famous article by my friend Carol Hauser that she published in her blog in the Times of Israel. And so Carol, she did a very intensive search, job search, and during her job search, she collected lots of interesting resources and references. And then she understood that all this collection that she did that was so useful for her could be useful also for other people in her situation. And then she decided to share it, as a blog. So basically, this blog article, this blog post that she wrote is sharing all this information that she collected for her personal interest, for her personal need, and making it useful for many other people, potentially. And so this is something that you can always ask yourself. If you are making some effort, any effort of collecting information, collecting references, learning about any subject, let's say you decided to learn about ChatGPT or prompt engineering. So you are collecting articles about prompt engineering, and you have your own ideas. So you can use this effort you did for yourself in your own personal goal to learn a subject and share it with other people. And then you are creating value for them. And what I want to say is also in this case, each one of you is already creating content. And when you share a video on WhatsApp, when you send a link to an article to some friend, when you recommend a book, or when you recommend a movie you watched, these are all forms of content curation. The question now is, when you are doing this, if you are improving your reputation. What kind of video are you sharing? What kind of posts are you making on the social networks? Are these things that improve your reputation? Are they contributing to your reputation?
Recording in progress.
Okay. Any question? Okay, please feel free to interrupt me, because I'm not watching the chat, so I don't know if there are messages on the chat. So if you would like to ask any question, please feel free to interrupt me. Here is another example of content curation. It doesn't need to be anything too complex. For example, books recommendations. If you read some books that you really liked, you can write an article on LinkedIn or on Medium or any other blog recommending these books. And this is something that is very popular. Now, in general, people who like to read, they're always looking for book recommendations. So this is a very easy way for you to generate value for your network, and creating some list of items that are curated by you, and that you're giving your personal opinion about them. So you are adding some value. It's not just a list. Of course, the idea is not just make a list of books, but give also your impressions and your opinions about these books. And then you share it with your network. You are actually contributing to them. You are actually generating value. Okay, so we talked about the two first forms of value generation, that is being a connector and creating content. And now the third one is to create content. Now, here the idea is to really create original content, your own ideas, your own insights, your own experience. Now, and this can be a blog, this can be a video, this can be an infographic. There are several ways you can create unique content. And I want to tell you that this presentation, most of it is unique content that I created. And most of this presentation is really based on articles I posted on my personal blog. No, the first time I presented this presentation was more than 3 years ago. Okay, so you saw some of the dates is from more than 3 years ago. So I didn't use ChatGPT to create the content in this presentation. Okay, so this presentation I'm showing you now is much before ChatGPT. Okay, but it's an example. So one way to create content is to create a presentation and then give this presentation. Another example here is this article by this Ole Hadash called Jordan Greenberg, and he wrote an article about his job search experience. Also, this article became very popular among new olim, and he made really some statistics. And he explained in this article, he shows all the numbers of all his job search, how many CVs he sent to how many positions, how many interviews, how many offerings he got. Okay, so he transformed his own personal experience into an article that he shared. In this case, it was on Medium. Okay, so this is a nice example, in my opinion. And again, you are already creating content. All the time, you publish a post on the social networks like Facebook or Instagram. When you send a message to a group, you are in a WhatsApp group with hundreds of people. If you are sending a message to this group, this is a public message, right? Or when you make a public comment in someone else's post. So these are there are examples of content you are already creating. And all these things, they can have an impact on your reputation. When you write something on a WhatsApp group, this can have an impact on your reputation. When you make a post on LinkedIn, of course, this can have an impact on your reputation, right? So you want it to have a positive impact. And you are also following all kinds of people and organizations that create content. And so we have influencers like Hillel, and you have blogs like the Times of Israel, and you have groups like Olim in Tech, and you have organizations like Gvaim and Nefesh Benefesh. All these people and the blogs and organizations, they are creating useful content. Now, how do you develop your reputation? Let's start with the question, how do you develop your skills? So here I put in 3 steps, in general, how you develop skills. Please turn off the microphone. So first of all, you learn about some subject. You must acquire knowledge. When you are acquiring knowledge, you are consuming content. Then you put your knowledge in practice, and then you have some experience. So this is more or less the 3 steps you need to develop a new skill. In the case of developing your reputation, you have the same first 3 steps, like learning, practice, and experience, but you need an additional step. It's to what I call teach, which basically is to share your knowledge and to create content. And so in order to really be able to develop your reputation, you must be ready to share your knowledge with others. And by sharing your knowledge with others, you also become an expert. This is what you see in this pyramid. Lots of people are familiar with this pyramid. Don't pay attention to the numbers. These percentage numbers here are not important. What is shown in this pyramid is that in the top, these are passive ways of learning, like lecture, reading, and so the more you go to the top of the pyramid, this is a passive way of learning, and in the bottom, these are the active ways of learning, and the most effective way of learning is by teaching others, is when you learn more, and then by sharing your knowledge and by making this effort, by being ready to teach others, you also become an expert. Now, you need to choose a subject, right? If you want to teach some subject, first you need to choose which is the subject you are going to teach or to share your knowledge. Then you need to ask yourself, what do you know that other people don't know and that they would like to know? These are the three questions that you need to define what will be your topic of expertise. I will be an expert on this subject, the subject that I know, that other people don't know, or that many other people don't know, and that they would like to know. And this is what I call the product, your product. What you know is your product. That other people don't know, this is your differential. Now, this is the scarcity. And of course, your product will be more valuable if it is scarce. And the other people would like to know is the demand. Okay, so you must have a product, you must have some knowledge and experience that you can share. This knowledge and experience should be your differential, and they should be something that is, they're not a commodity, and something that is special. And there should be a demand for that. And there should be people that want to hear you, people who want to listen to you, people who want to learn from your experience. And this is related to this graph that I'm sure you saw many times about how to find your purpose, and some people call it the ikigai. And that's basically to think about the intersection of four things. Now, this is what you see in this Venn diagram. There are the things that you like, things you love. There are the things that you're good at, your talent. That are the things that you can be paid for, and you can work doing that. And the things that you will need, there is some demand for it. So if you can find the intersection of these four things, and the intersection between what you call your passion, your mission, your profession, and your vocation, then this is your ideal point. This intersection, this red square in the middle of the Venn diagram is your ideal point. This is the ideal subject you want to be an expert. And then build your reputation on top of this expertise. Now let's talk about networking versus reputation in the context of meetups. Okay, now you are participating in a meetup. It's a virtual meetup. Now, in the case of networking, you go to meetups to meet people, right? This is the original idea. You want to meet people, and then you can go to meetups and conferences, and then you do networking. But for the reputation, you want to do more than that. You want to be a speaker. And when you speak in a meetup, it's much more than networking. Now you are building your reputation. Or you can organize a meetup. Or you can invite people to speak in a meetup. Okay? So you are taking a much more active role, and you are really being an expert when you do these things. You are just not you are not only another person participating in the meetup, you are a person that is leading, either as a speaker or as an organizer. And if this sounds to you something that is very far from reality, I want to give you an example And this is a friend of mine called Morris. Morris is a Ole Hadash from Panama, and he had this idea of creating a meetup group to talk about business with Latin America. Okay, so he wanted this to become his expertise. He said, He said, I am a business person and I have experience with business. I am in Israel. I am from Latin America. So I will use this to create my differential, to promote business between Israel and Latin America. And then he organized the meetup group with people that had the same interest, and started to have all kinds of meetings to discuss topics about that. Okay, so here in this picture, you can see one of his virtual meetups that he had back then. Okay, so if you have some topic of interest, something that you're really in love with this subject, you can also create your meetup group, and you can invite other people to join your group, and then start organizing events. And some of these events, perhaps you can be the speaker. And this will help you improve your reputation. You are not only doing networking. It's not just participating in a meetup. Now you are organizing a meetup or being a speaker in a meetup. And what I want to tell you is that each one of you certainly have a very unique experience. Okay? And you can think about your past. You can think about your professional history and think, what are the things that I did that are unique? What are the things that I did in my profession that are special? So for instance, if you are Ole Hadash from Russia and you worked for Yandex. So Yandex is a very big company and is a very famous company. So you can share your experience working for Yandex. Or let's say that you participated in some project, that in this project you used some very innovative technology, some very modern technology. So you can write or talk about using this technology. And your experience can also be participating in some special event. So let's say you are Ole Hadash from Russia, and you participated in the organization of the World Cup, of the soccer World Cup. And so you can share your experience. This can be very interesting. And in particular, I want to say that this is important today in the age of ChatGPT. Because if you play with ChatGPT, you have the impression that ChatGPT knows everything, right? And you have this impression that ChatGPT can write any article better than you. So this can be very frustrating. Now, for instance, I have a blog. I have been writing my blog for more than 10 years now. And now with ChatGPT, sometimes I think, should really I write this article that I have in my mind? If any person can go to ChatGPT and in a few seconds get something very similar, generated by the machine learning model. So the idea is that ChatGPT seems to know a lot, but it doesn't know everything, because the ChatGPT doesn't know anything about your own unique personal experience. So these are the things that you should share. These are the things that you should talk about. These are the things that you should write about. Your unique, individual, personal experience. Does it make sense? Does it make sense to you? One person? Okay. Any comment, any question?
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to add something to chat GPT. So I don't know if any one of you tried to actually like see if, like, of course it can generate content, it can generate code, but at the end of the day, I just want you to try something. I want you to ask it how many A's are in the word programming, right? So it will just say anything. If you ask it how many, like, for example, E's are in the word ketchup, it will say there are three E's in the word ketchup. So like lots of people that say like ChatGPT is gonna take over the like our jobs and whatever, like it's not. Actually, it's just to empower you to be more effective, more productive. But at the end of the day, it's not smart. Like if you ask a kid how many E's are in the word ketchup, the kid is gonna say there is one E in the word ketchup. The ChatGPT can't even do that. So I just wanted to add.
You're right. You're right. Actually, this is because ChatGPT is just a language model. So it just is able to build associations between words, and there is no reasoning and there is no logic. Sometimes it causes the impression that it has some logic or reasoning, but it doesn't. It's just a probabilistic association between words. But I want to also say another thing, that people get impressed with ChatGPT when they ask questions about topics that are well known, the topics that you can find lots of information on the internet. But if you try to ask ChatGPT about some topic that there's not much information available, well, that's what we call the long tail. There is this concept of the long tail, that is all these subjects that there is no much information available. So if you ask the model about it, it will not be able to really give a very good answer, because the model is built on existing information. And so the more information the model used to train, to learn, it can give you better answers. But if there are few information, the model will not be able to give a good answer. So another good approach is to write about these topics that are on the long tail. And these topics that there are not many people that know about them. And you can choose a topic and become an expert in these topics, and then share your knowledge. And to do all these things, I'm telling you in this presentation, of course, you need to get out of your comfort zone. And again, this diagram is something that probably you saw before, and this is in particular true in the case of public speaking. Lots of people are afraid to be public speakers. Okay? Why? They are in their comfort zone. They don't need to be public speakers. So if they want to try to be public speakers, this gets them out of their comfort zone. And when you get out of your comfort zone, the first thing that you feel normally is fear. You're afraid. Okay? But the idea is that if you face your fear, you are able to dominate your fear, you enter the learning zone. Then you start getting practice with the things that before you were afraid to do. Yeah? So if you want to be a public speaker, you first need to face your fear and start being a public speaker to gain the practice, and then you start to learn and grow. And eventually you enter this growth phase, growth zone, in which you are doing it as something that is natural to you. This is just a question of practice. And this is not only about public speaking. This can also be about other things, like even writing an article. Now, some people are afraid to write an article because they are exposing themselves, and they are afraid to expose themselves. They can receive criticism. They are afraid of getting a negative feedback. And so you need to face this in order to really build your reputation. In practice, how you do this?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah, my problem isn't that I have a fear of talking to audience or maybe write an article. I think my question is, what can beginner do? Because you can write anything without any experience, and you can just, I don't know, as you say, like take ChatGPT and try to see if the information is authentic, and try to like do extra checking if that's okay with Google. But without any hands-on experience, how I can be someone who can write an article that is based on something that can be helpful and be, I think it's authentic, it's the word. I don't know, maybe someone who can be something. You understand my question? Because
yes.
if you're, I don't know, 10 years or 5 years in I don't know, in a high company, okay, so we have an information. But if you start and you want to build your network, it's very hard to like doing without any practical knowledge, and you don't have the ability to say, oh, why I can give, because you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, this is a good question, and this is related to this slide. And so I'll first explain this slide, and then I will answer your question. So this slide is about flow theory. And what is flow theory? Is how you reach your peak performance. Now, how you become as effective as possible, according to your own capacity. And this theory was created by a psychologist called Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, and he published this book called The Flow. And what he says, that is what you see in this graph, that to reach this peak performance that he calls flow, there must be a match between the challenge and your skills. And this is related to your question of being a beginner. If you are a beginner, and if you try to do something that is above your skill level, above your capacity, you will not reach a good performance. What will happen if you have a high challenge with low skill? What will cause, according to this graph, what do you feel if you have high challenge with low skill? Anxiety.
Anxiety or empathy? I think anxiety.
Anxiety. Yeah.
Anxiety,
you feel nervous. You feel stressed. And if you try to do something that is much above your capacity, you feel very stressed. The opposite is if you do something that is much below your capacity, it's very boring. So this apathy, you don't derive any pleasure from doing something that's much below your capacity. So you need to find this balance, this match between your capacity, your skills, or your abilities, and the challenge. So that's the first thing. So then you can reach this flow, you can reach this top performance, this peak performance. Now, if you are a beginner, by definition, you are not an expert on any subject because you are a beginner. And also, probably you don't have much experience you can share. So one of the things you can do, as I said in the beginning of the presentation, is to curate content. So let's say you choose a subject you want to learn. So let's give a different example now. Behavioral economics. Okay, behavioral economics is a very interesting subject, and there are many Israelis who are experts in this field. We have Dan Ariely, we have Kahneman, and other researchers and scientists in the field of behavioral economics. And so let's say you decided to learn about behavioral economics. So the first thing you will do, you search. You search for materials, you search for articles, you search for videos on YouTube, you search for courses, and then you make a collection of materials. You have this collection of articles, you have a collection of videos on YouTube, you can have a collection of references. And this result of your learning effort, you can share with others, right? Because you did it, your main motivation in the beginning was to learn. You were doing it for yourself, right? For your own interest in learning some subject like behavioral economics. But the moment you made this collection with all these references and you selected the best articles and you selected the best videos on YouTube, you can share this with your network, or at least with people who you think will also be interested in this topic. And then you can make a post on LinkedIn. Look, these are my favorite articles about behavioral economics. Or you can share, you can create an article on Medium with a short summary of these videos you watched on YouTube. You say, I watched these 3 videos on YouTube, and this is the summary of the videos. Or you can make book summaries. And this is very popular. You know, one of the most popular types of videos on YouTube are book summaries. So you can learn a book, you can read a book and make a summary of the book. What did you learn from this book? What are the main insights? So you don't need to be an expert, but you are sharing something you were able to learn. And this, in my opinion, is already valuable. And certainly anyone can do this. You don't need to be an expert. You can be a junior on any subject, and you can share with others what you're learning. Let's go on. Now, you must manage your online presence. This is mostly about your presence on the social networks. So you must be active. If you want people to remember you, you must be active. You cannot be this person who is passively using LinkedIn, who never posts anything on LinkedIn. You cannot be this person that is not contributing anything. If you want people to remember you, you must be active. And this means posting and liking posts and commenting and sharing other people's posts. And you must have your own voice. And this sounds like a cliche, but this is very important. You need to be authentic. You have to create what the people call your personal brand and be consistent and be professional. And so you must take very seriously your presence on the social networks if you really want to build your reputation. And this is something long-term. And this is something that you do on the long term. Here is one way you can measure your reputation. Okay, this is a tool from LinkedIn called the Social Selling Index. It's this link here on the bottom, and I will share with you the presentation. All the people who are participating now in this meetup, I will share with you my presentation. You have this link, or you can search for Social Selling Index on LinkedIn. Okay, so this is my real index. My real index is 75 out of 100. And here on the right, it shows how it's measured. So it has 4 components of the score. And it shows on the top some statistics. So there is the industry rank and the network rank. The industry is my position in relation of other people who are the same industry as me. So in my industry, which is probably software development, I am in the top 1%. And in my network, what is my network? If I take all my connections on LinkedIn, I have more than 10,000 connections on LinkedIn. So on my personal network, I am on the top 2%. Okay, So this, of course, I don't need to explain you that these results are difficult to achieve. So this requires some investment. This requires some effort. But this is contributing to me. And when I reach this kind of results on LinkedIn, the meaning for me is that I have access to opportunities that most people don't have. For instance, when headhunters make a search on LinkedIn, my name will be on the top, right? Because my social selling index is so high, so I will be promoted to the top of search results. Everyone does a search that is related to my personal skills. And so I recommend you to use this tool of the social selling index on LinkedIn to measure your own performance in the social network, building your reputation, building your personal brand. And the best thing that can happen to you is when other people start talking about you. And this is when you achieve recognition. And it's not only you promoting yourself. And of course, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound good that to say that you are all the time promoting yourself. You don't want to be in this position to be always promoting yourself. It doesn't make a good impression. But if you really are creating value, at some point in time, people will ask your opinion and share your opinion. So here you have two examples, one from Hayim and the other one from an accelerator I participated, that they asked my opinion about some subject and they shared my opinion. So these are other organizations promoting me. Now, what I want to talk now is about reputation in the context of job search, which I think is a very important topic. Before I start, I want to know if you have any question or comment or criticism. Okay, so I will continue. So now we talked about reputation, and we talked a lot about reputation and how to create value for your contacts, how to create value for your network. Now I want to explain how this impacts your ability to find a job. So this is what I call employability. Employability is your ability to find a new job. And this is my personal definition, okay? And I say that a successful career path is a career path in which your employability is always increasing. Now, is this possible? What do you think? Is this possible that your employability over time is always increasing? Most people will be afraid that as they get older, their employability will decrease, right? You are familiar with this phenomenon that older people are afraid to be outside the job market and to be forced to retire early. This is a very common fear. Now, what I claim that if you plan your career and if you invest in your career, then you can guarantee that your employability will increase as you get older. And this, of course, is related to your ability to build a reputation. Okay? And I will show you how your employability is associated to your reputation. Now, let's talk about the different stages. The first stage, when you're looking for a job, you are a fresh graduate. You don't have much experience. In this case, you are very similar to other candidates. And if you don't have much experience, there are many candidates that are similar to you. And your employability in this stage depends mostly on your performance at job interviews. People who have the best performance on job interviews will get the best jobs. And to be invited to a job interview, you must have a good CV. So at this stage, the first stage, you must have a very good CV to be invited to the job interview, and then have a good performance at the job interview, and then you'll be hired. And of course, also in this stage, you don't have a big network because you're just beginning, and you don't have experience and you don't have network. The second stage is when you already have experience, you already have a set of skills, and you can share your experience and your skills, and there should be something special. And at the moment you are sharing your experience and your skills, you can be approached by headhunters. So when you build a very nice LinkedIn profile, when you already have some content to put inside your LinkedIn profile, your hope or your goal is that you'll be approached by these headhunters. And these headhunters will invite you to have a better job. Okay, no headhunter will approach you to offer you some job that is very similar to what you already have. In general, when a headhunter will approach you, is to offer you something that is much better. How do you move from the first stage to the second stage? Okay, so one of the strategies is to work in the beginning for companies that they have a good reputation. No, that is known, that is difficult to be hired by these companies. So if I am a junior person, I'm just out of college, or if I just finished my studies in the university, I want to be hired by the best possible company. I want to be hired by Facebook or by Google or by Amazon or IBM. I want to be hired for a company that I can add to my CV as a brand. So if I was hired by this company, this means that I'm qualified professional. And if your first job is for a company that nobody knows, this will not contribute so much to your CV. Then you must try to acquire experience and skills that are in demand. Now, this is a strategy. Now, you need to think, doing my job, I'm now working in some company, what are the things I can learn that will contribute the most to my background? Do I have access to new technologies? Do I have access to interesting projects? Can I do something that I will learn valuable skills? And it's very important to focus on that. And if you are working on any company and you are not acquiring valuable skills, you should think about moving to a different project in which you learn something more useful and more valuable. And always keep your LinkedIn profile with very detailed and relevant information. And if you want to be found by headhunters, your LinkedIn profile must be very rich. Okay, I will not talk now about how to do that. There are many videos on YouTube about how to improve your LinkedIn profile. Let's talk now about the third stage. Okay, so we said the first stage when you are junior, the second stage when you are approached by headhunters. Now the third stage is when you are invited to join a company. And here I'm talking in particular about startup companies. Here in Israel, most people have this goal or this dream or eventually being invited to join an early stage startup company. And being invited to join a company means that these people who are the founders of the company, the founders of the startup, they really trust you. This means that you have a very good reputation. Okay, so you only have access to this kind of opportunities if you spend considerable time investing on building your personal reputation, so the people on your network will remember you and think, wow, I am creating this startup company, and it would be great to have this person together with me as a co-founder, or at least as a C-level executive or any other kind of leadership position in my startup. Okay? So I personally really like to work with startups, and this has always been one of my goals. I don't know about you, if you also have this dream about having a leadership position in a startup company, but I believe that most people in Israel, in particular most young people in Israel, dream about that. And I think it's totally possible. It depends on you, on building this career path, right? So what's the difference between being approached by a headhunter and being invited to join a company? When the headhunter invites you, he says, I want someone with your profile. Or he says, you have the profile, you have the profile we are looking for. And that's why the headhunter talks to you, because you have the perfect profile. But when you are invited to join a company, they want you. They'll tell you, we want you to come work with us. This is very personal. This is a personal invitation to join a company. And this, of course, depends on your reputation. So the question now, how do you move from the second stage to the third stage? So in the second stage, we said it's important to share your experience and your skills. Regarding the third stage, in my opinion, what's important to share is your achievements. You must make your achievements visible. And what are achievements? I mean results. People must understand, for all these companies you have worked for all these projects you have worked for, what was your personal contribution? What were the results that you generated? And so your results in these projects, in these companies, these are your achievements. And based on these achievements, you will have your personal reputation. Now, I want to present you this formula. After that, you have talked a lot about reputation, networking, and opportunities. Okay. In this formula, on the left, I say that the number of opportunities you will have as a professional is the strength of your reputation multiplied by the size of your network. Okay? This is a mathematical formula. And if you are an engineer, or if you like math, it should make sense to you that the higher or the stronger your reputation and the bigger your network, you have more opportunities. Now, what happens if you have a very strong reputation with a small network? It doesn't help you, right? Let's say you work for some company like Intel, and you are famous inside Intel that you are a top engineer. That's very nice. Right? People in Intel know you that you are a top engineer, but this will not help you get opportunities outside Intel, because your network is an internal network. Okay? So you must make these achievements visible outside, visible externally. So this is the case. You have a strong reputation with a small network, but can also be the opposite. You can have a very big network, but no reputation. Now, some people invest lots of effort and time making connections, and they have thousands and thousands of contacts on LinkedIn, but they don't invest in building their reputation. So these people will not have access to opportunities. They have a big network, but people don't remember them. If people don't remember you, if they don't know who you are, you will not have opportunities. So in summary, what explain you? So our goal should be to have these strategies to have a successful career path in which are always increasing your employability. In the first stage, you must perform well in job interviews. In the second stage, you must share your experience and your skills to be found by headhunters. And in the third stage, you must share your achievements and you must build your personal brand to be invited to join companies. And this, of course, is long-term. And when I present this to you, I'm talking about a long-term strategy. To summarize, 2 points I want you to remember. As I said, building your reputation is a long-term investment. So you need to start now. Don't wait. Okay? If it is a long-term investment, when is the right time to start? Now. And your network is useful mostly as an amplifier of your reputation. Okay? Your network alone will not bring you value, or at least your network alone will not bring you the results you expect. It will not bring you the opportunities you expect. Your network is an amplifier. That's it. Do you have any question? Would you like to ask any question or make any comment or criticism?
Yes,
Okay.
I have a question, but it's not like completely related to this. But so like it's quite interesting, right? Like you graduated from Technion in 1995, right?
Right.
What made you be interested in computer science, like in high tech? Like what was going on that, like you said, this is my passion, this is what I want to do? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, so this is a very good question. This is related to that slide that I showed you about the passion. Now, to find this point, this intersection about the things you love and the things you are good at and the things that the world needs, there is demand, and someone is willing to pay you. So this is the question. And for me personally, it started when I was 13 years old. This is 1983, so it's exactly 40 years ago. In my bar mitzvah, I got my first computer, my first personal computer, 40 years ago. Okay? And then I started immediately. I started programming. So I have 40 years of programming experience. And my first programming language was BASIC. And it was clear for me that this is my passion. And it was clear for me that that's what I want to do. And I think I'm lucky that this is also a profession that pays very well. And I believe it will continue to pay very well. And I don't believe in all these people that say that programmers or software developers will be replaced by machine learning models. And the opposite. I think that there will be even more work for software developers in the future, because there will be more applications of software and machine learning together. But my recommendation related to your question is that don't believe in the 10,000 hour rule. What is the 10,000 hour rule? Is another book by Malcolm Gladwell that he called The Outliers. And this is a very popular book in which Malcolm Gladwell, he did not create this 10,000 hour law. He just made it more popular. But the idea here is that any subject you choose and you invest 10,000 hours in this subject or in practice, you become an expert. So if you want to become an expert programmer, you spend 10,000 hours programming, you become an expert programmer. And I don't believe that, because I think that if you don't enjoy what you're doing, if you don't have pleasure doing what you're doing, you will never be able to spend 10,000 hours doing it. Okay, 10,000 hours is lots of time. Okay? So first of all, my recommendation to any young person is to find what you like, to discover your abilities, to discover your talents, okay? What you enjoy doing, and then make this something practical. Okay? This is the aspect, something that the world needs. There is some demand and someone willing to pay you for that. And then you invest the 10,000 hours to become an expert. But if you try to become an expert on any subject that you don't like, I don't believe you have any chance to succeed. I don't believe. Okay, I see there are some messages on the chat. I just wanted to finish some references, and then I'll go to the chat, and also I will stop sharing my screen so I can see you. First of all, I recommend these 3 books by Dorie Clark. Dorie Clark is a person who I really admire. I'm a fan of hers. She wrote these 3 books that are completely related to the topics we addressed in this talk about reputation and building your personal brand and your professional career. So take a look on these books. And here there are some references from my blog. I will share with you later this presentation. All of you who have participated today, you get a link to my presentation. Let me stop sharing now. Great. Now let me see the chat. There, let me see. Okay, I'm looking if there is some question, people inviting to connect each other. Of course, you should connect to each other. I think it's totally correct for you to connect to each other in this context. Okay, so do you have any question or comment or criticism or suggestion? Okay, so anyone would like to volunteer and say how he or she intends to put in practice starting now? I told you, you must start now. Anyone who to be a volunteer and tell me how he or she is going to start now and put in practice what you learned from this presentation? Any volunteer? Alex? I don't hear, Alex.
Thank you. In this presentation, when I heard this presentation, I found that I waste my last year. I always know about I need be more active, write some content. I have some idea, but it's really difficult to start writing. For example, I write my first post in LinkedIn last week, and I spent for them more than a day.
Yeah, okay, so thanks for the feedback. you see, I want to talk about feedback. First of all, your difficulty is related to the amount of practice. This is related to that slide I showed you about the flow theory. The flow theory, there is this match, do you remember, between the challenge and your skill. So you said it took you 1 day to write one post. So it was difficult to you. But as you continue to practice, you will improve your skills. So there will be a better match between the challenge and the skill, and then it will take you less time to do that. But this is one aspect of writing. Another aspect of writing, which is very common among people who are just starting to create content, is that they are not sure about the quality of their content. They are not sure, and it's very natural, it's normal. A person is not sure about the quality of the content he or she is creating. So it's very important to create content in the platforms in which you can get feedback. Very important. And many platforms enable you to get immediate feedback. So when you share a post on LinkedIn, you get immediate feedback in the form of likes and comments and shares, and you can see how people are reacting to your post. Okay, and there are strategies that you can use to engage your audience and to get more feedback. Because in order to improve, you want to get as much feedback as possible. To practice and have feedback in order to improve. So in order to engage your audience and have more feedback, there are strategies like adding to all the content you create a call to action. And the idea of the call to action is that you are inviting your audience to engage with you. And so I write a post, I can share my opinion about some subject, and in the end of the post, I can ask, what's your opinion? Do you have a different opinion? What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? So the moment I ask this question, if it's something authentic, people will comment and they will share their opinions. And then I'll be learning from them and getting feedback from them about the quality of my material, of my content. And I will be collecting ideas for future topics I can expand, right? So I really recommend you to adopt this approach of every time you share any kind of content to include a call to action, to engage your audience and to ask for feedback. The same thing I'm doing with you now. And I gave you this talk and I'm asking for your feedback. Okay? That's it. Any other comment or anyone else who want to be a volunteer to share anything?
I think I still have a problem with the stage, as you say, the first stage to the second stage, and even in the first stage, I think for the beginners, it's in this time it's much harder to find maybe the right CV or maybe have much experience that is enough for the headhunters. I'm still didn't know what is the direction should I try to accomplish the first level of, as you stated.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, you can keep in contact with me, and I may try to help you personally with pleasure. And you know, I'm a mentor at Gvaim, and Baruch Hashem, thanks God, I have experience trying to help people to make success in their professional careers, including many junior professionals. And in the first stage, it is particularly difficult now because, of course, there is a crisis. There is a global crisis. There are lots of people being fired. many companies are not hiring. Many companies that were hiring in the past, they are not hiring anymore. So there are not many open positions. There are lots of people looking for a job. And of course, when you are a junior, it's difficult for you to compete with people that have much more experience than you, and they can write on their CVs things that you can't. And my recommendation is during this period of time that you are searching for a job, to try as much as possible to have some experience that you can write about. And I'll give you three different ways to do that. I understand that you are a software developer, right? So first of all, contributing to open source projects. And if you contribute to open source projects, and this is a way you can demonstrate some experience even before you have your first job. Another thing is to be an intern. So most people look for a job, but instead of looking for a job, you can first look for an internship. And so I work a lot with interns in the companies I'm involved with. In the past 6 years, I have worked directly with dozens of interns, some of them physically here in Israel, some of them remotely in organizations such as Tamid and the Masa and the ITC. So internships are a great way for you to get professional experience. And the third thing I would like to offer you as a possibility is to have your own pet project. And so any idea you have, it can be a smartphone app, it can be a website, it can be some plugin for some platform. Any idea you have, just do it. If you have free time, don't waste all of your free time looking for a job. You should, if you need a job, of course, if you need money to buy food, then most of your time should go to looking for a job, but not all of your time. You need also practice. So if you build your pet project, like a smartphone app, and when you go to the interview, you have something to talk about. This is one of the goals. When you go to the job interview, you want to be special. You want this person that is interviewing you, he's interviewing also many other candidates. So you want this person to remember you. How this person is going to remember you? You must be special. So you must tell him about a project you are doing. It can be, as I said, an open source, you're participating in an open source big project, or you did some project in an internship, or it's a pet project, a personal project. But this is something concrete you can talk about. It's a concrete experience.
But do you have maybe, because when I try to like build the, I don't know, theoretical experience, like to try to learn like from Udemy or Coursera or everything, sometimes I feel that I feel the experience like in Udemy that the course wasn't give me all the experience and experience and tools I've needed. So you maybe have any idea how to know if the course I can take it's reliable or have enough way to give you an information that you can do with, because a lot of courses I took, they have like higher reviews and high score, and when I try them and try the course during it, they have like a hands-on experience that wasn't enough, and some of the all the ideas were very beginner and doesn't have the full picture. So you maybe have an idea how to look if, I don't know, the course of or the information that I can learn myself and build it, it's I don't know, authentic or something that I say concrete, but
yeah, look, most of these courses are introductory, and they just give you an introduction or an overview. And you cannot go very deep in most of these courses. So the goal should be, in general, to discover what exists, to know what technologies exist, what you can do with these technologies, and then if you think they are useful and you like them, you can start learning about them. But the learning process is very personal and individual. You need to discover your own optimal learning process. As you can see behind me, I like to read books. I read lots of books. Other people like to watch videos on YouTube. Other people like to download code from GitHub and start changing the code. And so you must develop your own learning approach. This is very personal. But what I recommend you do is to meet other people like you. And this is the best thing you can do. And at any point in our lives, we can have this concept of the mastermind. The mastermind, the idea is to have a group of people with which we can exchange ideas and experiences and challenges and to learn from each other. So in general, when you search articles about this concept of the mastermind, people describe it in the context of business people or executives or leaders. But you, as a junior developer, you can have your own mastermind with other junior developers and learn from each other. So I really recommend you to do that. Okay. So look, I want to thank you all for participating in this presentation, in this meetup. It was really a pleasure for me to have you all. You are all invited to be in touch with me. Most of you are already in contact with me, many of you. Anyone who wants to be in touch with me, you can send me an invitation on LinkedIn. I promise to send you later the link to the presentation and also the video and also ways for you to keep in touch. So thank you very much.
Bye, Sam. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hayim.
Thanks a lot, Hayim.
Thank you.
Thank you.